Do we have an intro music queued up, or is that you guys bring that in later?
It's edited in post.
What's the opening music right now?
Happy Friday, everybody. It is 9:44 a.m. on Friday, November 10th. It's 39 degrees out. High of only 43 today. Cooled down a little bit.
It did. I like that you taunted everybody by saying Happy Friday when this video goes up on a Monday, so everybody else is at the start.
But we were just talking before we started about how there needs to be an element of verifying that this is when this all went down.
True. I just think it'll give people I guess something to look forward to.
Yeah, true. If they'll get to open this on Monday and hear me saying Happy Friday, so I hope that doesn't ruin people's entire week. Despite the fact that it's only 43 out today for a high, it's like 80 degrees in here.
Yeah, it's very warm.
We're dealing with a little bit of a change of scenery this morning. We're in the upper level of the library building on WLC, and we're here with our friend Dean Bakke. He's back for another episode. Ever since he came on last fall, every time I saw him around campus, he kept asking me when he could come back, and I told him sometime in the future, and that was not an empty promise, so we're happy to have him back today.
I've never turned down the opportunity to get in front of a microphone. So thanks for having me back. It's great.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Our first repeat guest, right?
Are you serious?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
You guys do a great job.
I don't know how it's taken this long for a repeat guest. I don't know that many people on campus, but
same.
Somehow we keep finding new ones.
That's true.
That just speaks to how many good athletes we have here, that we have that many people to bring on. That's the framing I'm going to take.
Definitely.
So, without further ado, would we like to start talking about some sports?
Yeah, let's start talking about some of those great athletes. So I think the first place that we can go is men's cross country, because they participated in the NAC championships last weekend, and we hosted that event at our home course, which was cool to see. I actually ended up going to both the men's and the women's race, which was cool. It was one of the first sporting events that I've been able to make out to this year. They took second place in the NAC championships. Ran really well. We had 4 warriors named all NAC. We had Isaiah Hareed, who got 5th place, Zeke Mitchell 7th place, Peyton Hartman got 10th place, and that was his 4th straight all NAC performance, which is really crazy, all 4 years. And then Jaden Schultz took 14th place as well. And then we also had Silas Abling named the NAC Freshman of the Year, taking 17th place, which was the top spot for a true freshman in the race this year, which is also the first time in WLC history in the NAC that a freshman was awarded that honor. So really good stuff at the NAC championships, and it was really cool to see that live. They just fell short of taking first place because of MSOE. MSOE has a fantastic cross-country program, as I learned from seeing many of them in the high spots of that race. But all around pretty cool, and it was cool to see a lot of our guys having a lot of success there and doing that. I do, on the women's side, we have to talk about what I have labeled on the agenda as the disaster that took place.
You were really teasing me with that one.
Yeah,
I wanted to know what it was about.
Yeah, you were both curious. Yeah. So if you look on the WLC Sports website, you'll see that there were no team scores awarded for the women's race. And the reason for that is that at one point during the race, a bunch of the field, like probably 50, 60%, I don't know the exact number, started going the wrong way.
No way.
So they were supposed to turn at a certain spot, and for some reason, I honestly am not sure what happened, but for some reason, a lot of the field ended up going straight. And then when our girls got to the point where they were supposed to turn, they knew because it was our home course, so they turned, and then everybody else had to funnel back through where they were supposed to turn. And so, I don't want to put blame on anybody in particular. I don't know what exactly was the cause of this, but it was very kind of surreal to see. And, I was there to watch it in person, and parents were like, what's going on? What is happening right now? And it was something. So that was...
We have a whiteboard in here. Would you like to illustrate the shape of the course and show everyone what happened here?
I could.
We can do it, yeah. Go ahead. Let's try it. We're trying something new.
Yeah.
When Dean Bakke comes in, that's when we pull out all the bag of tricks.
So basically, my understanding is that what the course was supposed to do was go like this, right? So they're running along this stretch, and then they're supposed to turn. And I think there was like a flag here that was supposed to direct them to go this way. But my understanding is that like there were either parents or like some sort of way that this area was blocked, and so a lot of the runners ended up going this way, which I think is how the men's race went. I think the men's race went straight there because they're different distances. So a lot of the runners went this way, and then when our girls got here, they went the right way, and then a lot of the girls that went this way had to funnel back through here. So I think I ended up hearing that the girls who had been in first at this point of the race actually came back and still won. But obviously that was kind of a big deal. And
That was very impressive. I'm very happy that John was able to illustrate that.
yeah, I mean, it was, my art skills are pretty top notch. So
I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, your art skills are much better than mine. So
well, I drew a couple lines and some stick figures. So but
just out of curiosity, how that happens.
Yeah.
I've never, I don't know if you guys ever ran track or certainly, cross country. I'm curious about the psychology of the runner during a race.
yeah,
In the sense of, if there's somebody in the lead, whoever's the lead in that particular portion of the race, if they make that decision to go that route, right, does everybody just blindly follow because they're so intense, right? Like they're so competitive, they're hyped up. They're chasing the lead person, and the lead person could have crossed I-94, and would have somebody said, "Man, that's just the way we're going," because I'm. Like, I wonder about that, like all the strategy. I know there's a ton of strategy that goes into cross-country running. I know there is. But I just wonder if you get in the moment. And if there's an alarm bell in your head that says, this doesn't feel right, but I'm so competitive.
this feels like a weird twist on if your friends jumped off the cliff, would you do it too? Like,
Well,
if the lead cross-country runner runs across I-94, would you do it too? But no, it's an interesting point you make.
I feel like, if you're in the race and, like you said, you're hyped up, this is the NAC championships, like you want to do well, and you see the first couple runners going, the wrong way, even if you know where the track is supposed to go, do you want to do it? Do you think, what if I turn here and I'm the one who's wrong?
Exactly.
Or what if...
I'm wondering if there's another example in another sport where that crisis of confidence comes into play. And I'm not talking, and that's the crisis of confidence, like not making a bad pass or not pushing a deep ball down the field, crisis of confidence. I'm talking about, I could be completely disqualified if I'm wrong. I don't know if there's another sport that deals with that.
No, and I mean, there were people who were hoping that they would restart the race, which at that point you're halfway through, or at least part of the way through. How do you stop all the runners, get back into it? No, it was like I said, it was crazy to see. But I think the NAC handled it very well. I guess they had a pretty extensive meeting about what to do about it, and they sat down and they talked about it. They ended up awarding the championship to 3 different schools. So they said Aurora University, Concordia, Wisconsin, and St. Norbert's were all kind of based on the year trending in the way that they could have won. And so they just said, all right, we'll give it to one of or all of those 3 schools, which I think was a good choice. I think that it was, like I said, I don't know that anyone in particular or anything was specifically to blame. I think it was just kind of a mix-up, and I think that it was overall handled pretty well. So
has something like this ever happened before, or is this... Maybe that's not a fair question for you, because I guess you wouldn't know that. But
right, but I mean, it's... I have to imagine that there's potential that it
right,
would have
it kind of goes back to the point that he was making about, is this some sort of phenomenon where, it could happen?
Yeah.
Just like a psychological thing.
Yeah, I mean, what other sport do you have? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, every course is different, right? Every cross-country course is different. So there's obviously a familiarity if you're the home team, but if you go to a baseball field, I guess you could have different outfield walls, right?
True.
There's some differences there, some uniqueness, but yeah, it's a fascinating aspect of the sport.
Yeah.
Could we, not to minimize the the girls cross country team, or the women's cross country team, I should say. And I know we don't talk about high school sports here, but I do find it a little curious that the men's team, which had wild success this year, the two feeder programs I feel like maybe should get a little bit of a shout out when I look at the roster. And I only know this because one of the schools is right around the corner from us. And the other school I happen to be involved with a little bit because my kids go there, although none of them admittedly are cross-country runners. So Wisconsin Lutheran High School, I feel, has fielded very strong cross-country teams. I feel that, right? I can't verify it. But when I look at the roster, there's a bunch of guys from Wisconsin Lutheran. I also happen to know that Lakeside won their high school division cross-country state championship this year. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they won it, or they did really well the year before. And the Lakeside cross-country coach is an alumni of WLC. So I wonder if there's a little bit, I don't want to call it a dynasty or a feeder program, but there's clearly, and there's a couple Lakeside guys who are running here. And I can't take credit for anything that they've done, even though I'm on the board at Lakeside. But I just wonder if I wonder if Travis has like sort of found a little bit of a recruiting in on tapping some talent here.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being a Wisconsin Lutheran alum myself. I remember our
John Canterbury, 2020.
Yeah.
Were you on the team?
I was not on the team,
okay.
no.
All right.
But I knew people who were on the team, and some of them are now on the team here. And I think I don't remember in terms of like how successful they were in high school, but I remember talking to them, and I think they have an interesting culture on that team that I think kind of shines through with so many guys that end up here. I think we always talk about with the cross teams how they're always hanging out together and building a good team dynamic, which at the end of the day probably is a lot of the reason why so many people end up coming here for that, I think. So yeah, I mean, that's the type of insider information that we bring you on for. So
I can read the stats page, guys.
there you go.
There you go.
I guess to finish up with the women's race, our top finisher was Ashley Miller, who took 33rd place. And then both the cross-country teams this weekend, so you'll be able to see what the stats were and how everybody did, are competing in the D3 regionals for the NCAA. Let me see here. That is
Tomorrow?
I believe the race is tomorrow, yes, but they're traveling today.
Okay.
Because they are, I think it's, I'm blanking on where it is, but it looks like it's in Colfax, Wisconsin, is where the race is. So
God's country.
could not tell you where that is. But
Me neither. But
But
as long as they know where it is.
Yeah, as long as they know where it is.
As long as they know where they're going.
as long as they don't, make the wrong turn on the way there.
I am glad that we were able to pivot a little bit to talking about the top finisher because we were I didn't want to overshadow the accomplishments of our cross country team.
Oh, no, absolutely
with the
not.
disaster. So
Absolutely not. No, I think, at the end of the day, like that happened, but it's in the past, and now they gotta focus in and
move forward. Good luck to everybody. Even though by the time this is up, they'll have already competed. But
I'm sure they'll feel like they just felt something. They're like, we're gonna do well now that Jack has wished us a good luck.
Like right now, they just got hit with like a sudden burst of energy.
Yeah, they're
Burst of motivation.
They're hyped up. They're ready.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, should we move on to men's soccer?
I think we can.
Okay, so men's soccer I put next because they also made it to the NAC tournament, and they played first round St. Norbert's and had a really, really tough loss. So it was 0-0 through regulation and through 2 overtimes as well, is my understanding. So Puma, the keeper, was making a lot of good saves. It sounds like both teams really barely even got any shots on goal, and it ended up going to a shootout, like penalty kicks, which was, I guess, very crazy. And it started out with WLC up 2-1, and then we ended up the last 2 shots were blocked by their goalie and got past Puma, so we ended up losing 3-2 in a shootout in the first round, which is kind of devastating.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as the team, you gotta feel good that you played such a good game. I'm sure,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I'm sure, right in the moment, it doesn't feel like
Right.
that.
I think there's that balance there between in the moment after it happens, like
you're probably super upset, super
right,
frustrated.
and then I think once a little more time goes, then you can kind of take a step back and still appreciate what you did do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think we have to recognize too the amount of guys on the team who were recognized for having a great year. We had sophomore Jack Leffel, who got first team All NAC, and then seniors Puma Galvan and Tony Bedoya got second team All NAC, along with freshman Hector Cervantes also did. So a lot of talent on the team. And to see a sophomore and a freshman alongside some of the seniors getting those awards is really great for the future of the team for sure.
Well, let me tell you something, guys. You know,
I always feel like something good is about to follow that when that's the
Yeah, when you
intro.
lead
Sorry.
in with that.
Sorry,
I
keep
always-
going.
no, I mean, I tell you, I think one of the special things I got to experience this year, and I haven't done it in a long time, and that's obviously by proximity at this point in my life, but I finally answered the call, or literally the email, to say, hey, soccer alumni, come back and be honored at the alumni soccer game, right? So, I don't know if I've mentioned this in the previous, but I think I did. We talked about
Yeah.
played soccer a million years ago here. Joe Lidke, Coach Joe's first year was my last year of soccer, and alumni was at the Illinois Tech game. Okay, and you know, I have a 12-year-old son, and he's coming up on a dividing line in his life, whether he's going to break, you know, soccer or football, because they're competing seasons, right? So I said, you know what, we got to go to a soccer game, and this is a collegiate soccer game. So we go to the Illinois Tech game. Awful weather. I mean, it was awful weather. I mean, it was raining and like spitting snow maybe. I mean, it was just awful. And Skip Noon was doing everything he could to keep the ground dry in front of the net. But anyhow, there was a halftime presentation, which was actually very cool. Alumni get to stand out there, and you know, they call your name and they tell you the years that you played, or they, you know, say the years you played. And I was shocked that I was the last name called. I was like the oldest guy there, which was sort of funny. Yes, I felt very old. But the very cool thing that they did, and I just want to give the soccer team a shout out for this, is the current soccer team stays on the field and they stand behind you. And I just thought that was a really cool thing that they did in awful weather. I mean, every single one of them got to be freezing, and they want to get inside and like make halftime adjustments. But you know, it was a really cool moment. I was super appreciative of it. I'll definitely go back last year. And when I look at the last, you know, 3 games of the men's season, you know, I don't know if you guys talked momentum at all, but the Illinois Tech game that I went to, I mean, they dominated. You know, WLC dominated, and they played. I don't know if you had to break down a percentage. 70% of the game on the opposing team half. You know, and this is what makes soccer brilliant and heartbreaking. Is you just need one shot, and Illinois Tech probably had 2 shots the entire game, and one of them went in. And it was just absolutely heartbreaking because WLC dominated, it seems like, in all phases of the game, except putting the ball in the back of the net. And then you take a look at, you know, the last second loss to MSOE in the waning seconds. And, you know, you get to the tournament where obviously if you score 1 goal, you don't go to a shootout. In the shootout, they were up. You know, so, just, you know, tough way to end the season, but a very cool moment. Want to share, at least with all your podcast listeners.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and it's cool to see that you know, we talk about that we have a lot of great athletes here at WLC, and I feel like that just kind of showcases our point about that, right? Like the soccer team standing out there, recognizing all the, you know, the community really of WLC alum and athletes and everything. I think that's
it was great. It was very cool.
That's what it's all about. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think moving on to women's soccer, we talk about momentum, and they kind of had a rough end to their season as well with a 5-game losing streak. But I did notice on a positive note that they had the most wins just overall as a team since 2018. So I think, you know, you can look at it and say, well, maybe we didn't have the end of the season that we wanted to have. But at the same time, you know, you can look at that and say, well, hey, we're building as a team. We're you know, trying to build up, and I think they still have a lot of young talent on their team. So I think there's definitely a future to look forward to for them. Sophomore Brooke Bloom, a podcast alum.
Former podcast. Someone's got to shout that out.
Of course. Took second team All-NAC this year as well. So, I think it's really going to come down to building on what they had and, trying to strive to get the most wins again that they can.
Can I tell you guys what I'm excited about?
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as women's soccer goes, I think, and you guys know that, the topic in Milwaukee has certainly been, head coaching changes, right, recently.
Yeah.
Do we talk about professional sports on this podcast at all?
We typically keep it on WLC.
Don't get me started.
And I don't think you can.
Don't get me started on what happened earlier this week. I already had to go on like radio shows and talk about it and stuff, and I wrote a whole big thing about it that I put out yesterday. But no, we're going to talk about WLC.
Okay. Well, one of the things I think is really positive is the new women's head coach.
Yeah.
I hear, just anecdotally, I hear Matt's doing a great job. And I think building a great culture. So I think that's a real positive. When you talk about building blocks and what the future looks like, as far as team culture, recruiting, things like that, I think it's a really bright future. So I wish that could be said for our local professional baseball team. But I think everything I've heard, Matt's doing a great job.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, I've also heard really good things. So I think that, it's really the building blocks and we have. Next year we'll come back and hopefully it'll be an even better thing.
Future looks good.
Yeah, definitely. Moving into football, which is the next sport that I have here on the agenda. The first thing that I want to say is just that they had a senior day kind of finale round out win versus Concordia Chicago. They ended up winning that game 28-21, which is a nice way to end the season for sure. And then I did go to the NAC website, look at some stats. And we had some people up there. I will say that I believe we're not playing this weekend, but almost every other team in the NAC is. So the stats are not finalized that I'm about to say, but it's either way, it's cool to have guys up there at the end of the season. And I'm sure, even if they move a couple spots, they'll still be top 10 here. We had wide receiver Emmett Hawkins is currently third in the NAC in receiving yards, which is a really cool stat. And then as we've been kind of talking about all semester so far, we had linebackers Layson Handwork and Savon Goodwin first and second in total tackles in the NAC, and they've been leading that for weeks now. So, like I said, cool to have some guys up there in the stats,
including another former podcast.
Exactly. Savon's up there too.
Everybody's up there. I have a question that kind of relates to football. So after every football win on social media, I'm seeing the Rev Shev post-game interview with.
Of course.
Whoever was the key player in the victory. Is there what's the backstory on the big hat? I see the big hat everywhere. Like,
I mean,
he's always wearing the big hat, which like whatever. It's kind of funny, but like what? How did this start? Who did he order a custom-made big hat? Who made the big hat? Like, I don't know if anyone knows any of these details.
Well, I mean, I feel like. Do you know how like the whole thing originated, or like just Rev Shev's hat?
Someone told me, wasn't it related to something that happened in the NFL or something?
I think NFL, MLB too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
because like it wasn't like he had. I was informed by someone that he adopted it from.
Yes, yeah. I think it's become a big thing, really, in probably NFL, college football, and baseball, where I've seen it the most.
Okay.
Is after a touchdown, a great defensive play, or a home run in baseball, teams will have like a specific thing that they'll do as like a celebration. So like the Brewers, I know they'd like put a cheese head on the guy. I think
they did for like the first couple months of the
year. It was one of the things that they do. And other teams would have, big chains, or they'd have, I think one team literally had just the giant hat.
Oh, I'm trying to think who was that.
I don't remember.
I don't remember which team it was.
But I think that's probably where it comes from, right? And then he must have just. It's very on brand for him. I feel like to just go all out and get one of those.
Shev got his production team upgraded because a couple weeks ago I was coming out of the administration building, making my way towards Generac, and kind of like right outside the Rex, where kind of that triangle where they all come together. Right outside the Rex, Rev Shev is shooting a video where he's interviewing someone, and they got like multiple people holding up cameras for him. He's got like a fancy microphone with the wind breaking screen on it. It's like, and he got done right as I walked past, and I just looked at him. I'm like, man, they gave you a bigger production budget now. You're big time.
Hey, when we talked to him on the pod last, I mean, He's technically a pod alum too.
He is.
He
Yes.
he was looking for a helicopter to
That's
support
right.
the team, so maybe
Yeah.
he'll eventually get upgraded all the way there.
I don't know, man. Slowly but surely, they're increasing Rev Shev's production budget.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not that that's a bad allocation of funds. Like, you know, you got to have some in-game entertainment. So
Yes, of course.
we love Rev Shev.
We do.
You guys got to have him back. Just to tell that story of the hat.
Maybe
We should have brought
Yeah.
him. We should have had a double
Oh,
guest
double
and
feature.
had Rev Shev come on with you.
We have done 2 guests at once before.
We have.
The podcast universe would implode.
Yeah.
That's
if,
true.
If Rev Shev and I were here together.
yeah.
That's true.
But that means it should happen.
yes.
True.
Maybe that can be like a finale episode or something where we just bring in like a bunch of people.
Yeah, we just.
Or if we do like the Christmas special again, where we have a rotating,
Yeah.
you know, cast of characters, we could see if we could get
I wanted to do something special last time. I know
Yeah.
we had floated the idea of like a pod alum dodgeball game or like just like bringing everybody back for something.
Do you
I
want
think
to tell
it'd be
Dean
fun.
Baki about the idea we came up with last night
Yes.
for a pod extra?
Our idea.
It was a great idea.
Yeah, our idea was that what we could do is, have you seen carpool karaoke?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, so our thought was, what if we thought of it last night, so it was never going to happen.
Right,
but
but,
what
you
if
know.
our pod today was us going to get the donuts with you and talking on the way, and then
So, yeah.
getting them and then coming back.
Because this was, if anyone's unfamiliar, the first time Dean Baki came on the pod, he got us donuts, and that was, he didn't have time to get them today, which is okay. We're not, you know, expecting treats or anything.
Of course.
But basically, the idea was, instead of this being the pod, or maybe we could do this too, but either way, there'd be some kind of extras feature where we're all in your car going to Cranky
Yeah.
Al's to get the donuts. So
Yeah.
it documents the ride there and back, and we would just have like a reverse dash cam or something.
I think it would've been-
filming this whole thing as it's going down, and I wanted to call the segment dash cam.
Yeah, I
So-
think it would have been just like
Yeah.
fast facts. It's called
Yep.
dash cam. I think it would have been a great
yeah.
idea. I mean, there's
So-
still potential in the future, maybe.
Yeah, if our viewers want to see that, like, let us know, because that would make for great like content
so.
on the Instagram page and everything.
Yeah.
It'd be fantastic. There might be a market for this, so we'll keep workshopping this idea.
I mean, we've already broken the boundaries of what the typical pod is.
we have we got
the
drawings on the
interactive.
whiteboard.
Yeah, so we're
it's-
really we're breaking the boundaries here.
we really are.
but
We should probably actually get back to the namesake topic of the podcast.
Yes.
It is the WLC Sports Pod. It's not
The WLC Nonsense Pod.
not the dash cam segment yet.
not yet.
But next on our agenda is women's volleyball.
Yes, we talk about women's volleyball. Another team that kind of ended the season on a little bit of a tough note. They had 2 tough losses, but on a high note for them, they also beat Rockford 3-0. They swept them on Senior Day on October 28th. So at least a good send off for the seniors. I think they only had 2 this year that I saw. But we should say that to all really the fall sports. Just like congratulations to the seniors on making it all the way through as a 4-year student athlete. I think.
Yeah, that's
It's really impressive to do. So
that's a big moment for all the people who have put the last 4 years of their lives into
Yeah.
this, because and I see it up front just working with baseball, like,
Mm-hmm.
and this is true across all sports. All of these athletes put in so much time.
yeah,
I mean, it's basically, I don't want to say a job because you love the game and you're having fun,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in terms of like the work you're putting in, it basically is a job, and it takes a lot of dedication, and to see that we have all these athletes who have that, and to go through the 4 years of it, and then all of a sudden, I think it kind of hits some people at the end, like, man, that's the end of the line, and
yeah, absolutely. It's crazy for sure.
I would reserve this comment for later, but I'll say it right now. I don't think you would find more dedicated athletes than at the Division III level. I think high school has a different flavor. Not to talk high school again. High school has a different flavor. And for the people who really love what they do and really want to get good at something, I think you find them continuing their collegiate career, like playing sports somewhere, right? And I would echo what you said. The athletes that are on campus here work incredibly hard, and hats off to them for the work they put in.
Yeah.
It's inspiring.
Yeah, and I mean, so many of our so many of our students here are athletes.
Yeah.
But also, great students. There are students who are doing athletics and academics and also have internships and all of that stuff, and that builds up.
That's
and
a big part of it too. Like the student athletes, student and academics, having to balance that. And a lot of times when you're in athletics, you're operating on odd schedules. You're on long bus rides, and that's when you're trying to crank out a paper or something that you have to coming up. So it's not easy, and people who are able to pull that off deserve a lot of credit for it.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of feeds into the point about D3. I mean, realistically, the athletes here know that once we reach senior year, it's pretty much end of the line. We're not going to be going on to professionals. So to do that and have it be such a huge part of your schedule and your habits and stuff, and then to still also commit yourself to all the other stuff is
and your life. I mean, a lot of these people have been playing whatever their sport is since they were 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah. So absolutely.
Yeah, so just work hard at it, have fun, and then we'll try to give you some shout outs on the pod.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so shout out to all the seniors, but especially the women's volleyball ones that we were just talking about. And then we also have to give 2 more shout outs to women's volleyball, the same people that we've been shouting out all year, Kylie Navasek and Emma Incaprero, who were 1st and 3rd respectively in the NAC in service aces this year, which again is kind of a cool stat to talk about. So
absolutely,
there we go.
Cool.
And then do we want to, where do we want to go next here?
I mean, you have women's golf on the agenda.
I do have women's golf. You seemed not super.
Well, I can't. Technically, I can't talk about it because I have a relative
right
on the team.
Right, of course.
Of course, conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just want. I really put it in there just because of they had kind of a historic end to their season, and I was wondering if you had any.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only thing you wrote under women's golf was riff with Baki.
Well, I thought we should give at the very least give women's golf another shout out for taking the highest spot in WLC history in the day.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, they had a great season. Let's be honest, they had a great season.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely. But all right, I guess we'll it's kind of the end to our fall recap. We're in this weird space where most of the fall sports are done, and we're looking ahead to the winter and then the spring.
This was the transition episode. So
Yeah, definitely. But looking ahead to winter and stuff that's coming up, we have the basketball teams who are actually, their first games are this weekend. So we have one tonight from when we're recording and one tomorrow. So hopefully you came out, supported both of the teams, and if you didn't, you can go ahead and check out the scores on the WLC Sports website. Big things ahead for both teams. I mean, we were ranked. The men's was ranked 1 in the preseason poll. The women's was ranked 2. So, lot to look forward to this winter for Warriors fans for sure.
It'll be a fun semester for winter and spring sports,
Yeah, absolutely.
both on the court and on the pod.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
They go hand in hand.
We've got some good stuff teed up, I think. So.
I hope so. You haven't told me about it, but
Well.
We'll figure it out.
It was more of like we will eventually have some good stuff teed up. It's not teed up at the moment. I guess that's kind of what teed up means, but
Oh well.
Yeah. The as far as the are we talking basketball season now a little bit?
Yeah, look ahead a little bit.
we can. Although
we got a couple minutes.
Yeah, we have a couple. We have a few.
So, I know that the men had a really strong season last year, and so did the women. And I feel like the women's program has been a perennial powerhouse.
Yeah.
At least in the NAC, right?
For sure.
And I found it maybe a little curious, and I have nothing to base this on, as you guys can tell. That's why I'm probably not invited on the podcast very often.
If you were a student athlete, then we'd invite you on more.
Yeah, of course.
You might run into some roadblocks, so if you try to get into that camp.
Do I have any years of eligibility? Okay. Is a number 2 ranking for the women's basketball team, is that a little bit of a diss?
I don't think it's a diss. I think it comes from just the fact that they ended up falling to Norbert's in the championship last year.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think that's probably what it is. I think probably they more or less have to rank them under St. Norbert's. And I think the men's probably, not to discredit the fact that they're a great team, but I think that also probably comes from how the season ended last year. Because they were, although actually, no, they ended up falling to Norbert's as well. So that's a little curious then, I feel like.
So anyway, I found curious is a good word.
Yeah.
I looked at that and I just, one eyebrow raised when I saw that. Because I don't think, who's our basketball guy? Ryan, is it?
Ryan Breckle.
Yeah.
Former podcast as well. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's returning. And I don't think the women lost too many people, did they?
I would say that Sam podcast alum.
Another
is
podcast
probably,
alum. We bring in all of
we
the
bring in the
guests.
WLC's powerhouses. That's what we do. I mean, she's still here, so and I think a lot of the other girls return too. So I think Yeah, I mean, I feel like we talked about sports psychology at the beginning with cross country, but I mean, do you think that getting that second place is kind of like a chip on their shoulder, and they're gonna,
now the objective becomes prove them wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's going to be an exciting season to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
For both teams. I know we're running out of time here. Can I make a shameless plug?
Absolutely.
Of course.
And I did not run this by you guys, so
That's okay.
No, we love shameless plugs.
We're
here.
trusting you. Don't betray that trust, but I think we'll be okay.
So please edit this out if it's not appropriate. But you guys know that, hopefully you know, Intramurals has a little bit of a different flavor this year. We're just trying some new stuff. And we got this idea, and when I say we, it's not associated with me, but my guy Henry Strupp, who's on the baseball team, he's a baseball player, is running Intramurals. And he came up to me with an idea, and they're going to run with this. And so I'm putting it out there for the WLC community to take advantage. And this is all, I do not have firsthand knowledge about this. I probably shouldn't be talking about it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Apparently, there's this information going around that there's this game out there called Fortnite. Okay? All right? Now, apparently, and this is where my 12-year-old son should take my place, because he's probably going to watch this and like, Dad.
Or my 18-year-old and 16-year-old brothers who have turned my basement at home into a Fortnite den that never sees sunlight, and there's a bunch of, empty candy wrappers and boxes just piled up everywhere.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So apparently the original map has been re-released.
I heard that. I don't think I know what it means, but I did.
I'm taking their word for it.
Yeah.
Apparently it's really hot right now. And so Intramurals for one weekend only is running a Fortnite tournament.
No way.
Yeah, and it's apparently it's pretty hot, and it's going to be there's a fee to get in, okay, but then there are tournament prizes. So if somebody out there in the WLC community wants to get involved in this, there's going to be information coming out. But I told Henry, my confidant, I said, listen, I will plug it on the podcast tomorrow. So
well, there you go. I mean, that's some breaking news. That we have,
it is, news broken on the pod. Is it good news? I don't know, but
so it's up for you to decide.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, it's out there. So for what it's worth.
Well, there you go. There's a shameless plug for you. But
we really had to end this thing on Fortnite, though. Like
we can't do that.
No.
Well, I mean, we have
about 15 seconds left.
Yeah. So do we have anything else to talk about? Just a random.
No, I don't think so. You got any interesting comments on what your day's been like so far? I know it's only 10:23, but
well, I actually woke up to come here. So
did you? I did too. So.
I didn't have class. I don't have class until 10:30 today.
Oh,
so
nice.
Which is in 7 minutes. So I guess I'm trying to think of like a bold statement that I can make that can be on the pod, of course, but that can turn the attention away from Fortnite. And I don't really have anything. Are we going to talk about beverages again?
Sure. Like, is that just WLC sink water again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, while John drinks his sink water, I guess I'll do the sign off. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Dean Bakke, for coming back. We enjoyed having you again.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll bring him back just for the potential dash cam.
I think we should.
Segment. I think we should try it, but that's going to be up to our viewers too to let us know a little bit.
And our, higher ups.
Yeah, our higher ups. Yes, right. The lead executives on the sword.
Right, of course.
If Rev Shev comes on, and if he would tolerate me,
absolutely,
I'd show up again.
Absolutely, we'll do it. I think we'll try to make it happen. So until then, or until our next episode, whoever that guest will be, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.